Okay. It reads so dark. Alright, so where we left off, I got dropped off uh by private boat in Fajada, Puerto Rico. This is part 3 of my hurricane story. 2 hurricanes. I went through Maria and Irma. First Irma, then Maria. And I'm sharing this story because it was my personal initiation. And there's lots of key points that we all can learn from, and maybe things you guys can pick up from my story that you can take for yourself that maybe I didn't get. And you're watching Wild, Free and Tangled Fairy. I got dropped off in Fajada, Puerto Rico, by 2 guys who are a friend of friends of a friend of mine, of the woman and the man who stayed upstairs in the house from my apartment. I was staying in St. Thomas. It was a hard decision to leave St. Thomas. Like I said before in the last video, I didn't want to leave. I planned on living there and like traveling out to other countries and stuff that I want to travel to. And I have grown to love St. Thomas in my heart. The starry nights, the nights we stay up talking all night, sharing stories, drinking wine. There's no TV, so a lot of people spend time together. I love that. I absolutely live for that lifestyle. And living amongst the roosters and the iguanas and all the tropical fruit and the fauna and the plants. And after the hurricane, it was just a totally different place. It wasn't the St. Thomas I fell in love with. And I knew everything would grow back and everything would come back. But the people would turn into people that I didn't know as well. And I found this to be true after the hurricane in Puerto Rico. So, we're in Fajada. We get dropped off on the boat, and I am having a good time on this boat ride. I was excited. I was like, I'm going to another place I've never been before. Besides the apprehension of not knowing where I was going to live, how I was going to get to where I was going to get to. You know, I had a little cash, but I'm not balling or nothing like that, you know. And of course, the whole time, and this is some of the stuff I left out, that even before the storm, I talked to Lord Indra and just asked him to spare me and my friends' homes. You know, please, if you could. And I did the same thing with Hurricane Maria. I actually asked to channel Hurricane Maria if I possibly could, you know. So I touched down and I have all my luggage. I trying to share or Uber with people so I don't have to spend $80 to get to San Juan. The whole thing to get to San Juan is so that you can get to the airport and get a plane ticket and leave. Now I didn't want to go home, but I didn't know what I was going to do. I was thinking about maybe South America, Mexico, but I ended up looking up an Airbnb so that I could have a place to stay. And to my surprise and pleasure, they were giving evacuees from St. Thomas from Hurricane Irma free Airbnbs for a month, for the month of September. And so I messaged someone. They responded back to me in like a couple of minutes, and I had a place to stay. And I shared a taxi, not an Uber, a taxi, which cost $60, not bad. Bajada is an hour away from San Juan, and when I got to the place, I was met by this white girl named Lottie and her husband, who I thought was Puerto Rican because he looked Puerto Rican, but he was also white. They're from Ohio, and they were both in the collegiate professions. He was a teacher, and she is an administrator for international students. Ah, they spoke English. Ole! I'm so happy. I was so happy about that, yo. I was so freaking happy about that. And the room that I was in was like a small apartment, my own little small apartment. They gave me my keys, and they were super nice, super professional, and super organized, and I got comfortable. I unpacked. Well, I took off my clothes. I went to sleep because they didn't have electricity either in Puerto Rico because of Hurricane Irma, but they had electricity in the next couple of days. It wasn't as drastic. They didn't get hit as hard. They got like tropical storm or maybe category 1 or 2. As for St. Thomas and the other surrounding islands, got Hurricane 5 winds. Just saying that, like, it gives me a little bit of nostalgia of how it felt and the intensity of it. It's intense. And so the next day, for the next couple of days, I'm like walking around San Juan, going to the beach, which was like a 5-minute walk away. I have allergies from being here in Georgia. And I never get allergies, but like maybe a day after or two that I got here, I started like, maybe because I was just an extreme different temperature or climate. So anyway, excuse me if I start coughing up a lung or whatnot, or sniffling. I'm looking for my tissue. But yeah, San Juan, it's like funky and like old but beach town. It's like a country Miami, like a slower Miami. Not as many people, not as fast paced, but still popping, you know. Lots of young people. They had like an alternative rock scene going on, and lots of restaurants, bars. I love the part of town I was in. It was like the touristy part of town where hotels and stuff were. And that's where I could use Wi-Fi, use my phone, and well, my phone really only worked on the beach. So I'm there a couple of days, and I decide that I'm just going to stay in San Juan. Why not? You know, I started tutoring my kids again, and life seemed to be going on a happy track. I was happy again, like about like where I could see my life going. I started looking up apartments where I could find a 1-bedroom for $400 a month. Awesome. You know, so you know I was going to live there, and I had to move Airbnbs. I had to find another Airbnb because my Airbnb host were had already signed up someone else for the weekend. So I found another Airbnb in Ocean Park, and I was there a day. And over there, I went to the beach maybe once, but I wasn't outside as much because I was tired, like from moving around so much, and it's so hot out there. It's so hot outside. Like I was way darker than this, like than I am right now. It's like my forehead was black. I looked like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It was weird. It was like not an even tan at all. It was strange. Um. So yeah, I stayed in. I found a grocery store, found a Pueblo, and I chilled. And then maybe like the second day I was there, my Airbnb host tells me that it's decision making time, and I'm like, decision making time.